The oldest female child is told, sometimes, especially in a single parent home, cook, clean, help your, siblings get dressed for school, help them with their homework, help them with this. So because you're doing all of that as a kid yourself, for me personally, is one of the reasons why I wasn't quick to have kids. Like I just wasn't interested in being a mom because I felt like I've been a mom damn near my whole life. Hello, beautiful people. It is your girl, Miss Charlotte. If this is your first time visiting my platform or seeing my freckled face, welcome and hello. I talk ish, as in our issues. We all have issues. How we deal with our issues, that is truly the difference. And today I have a very special guest. I think you could kind of guess that he's my brother because we're twinning today. And you can see he has way more freckles than I do. And he's representing the 50-something sexy because he finally turned 50.
51.
51 now. And he is my younger brother, but he, we call him Lil Man, but he, as you can see, he's a big man. And thank you again. I always have to thank him publicly for his service. Thank you for protecting us and our rights and everything. So thank you for that. Okay, let's get into this. But before we do that, let's toast. Yes, let's take a sip. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the first relationship that I wanted to talk about is the dynamic between siblings, brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk to single parents and I guess couples too, married couples, parents that are in the house together. Especially in our community, there's a thing where we tend to make the oldest child a pseudo parent.
Right.
You're the oldest, you're in charge of your brother, or you're in charge of your sister, or you're in charge of your brothers and sister. And then the parent tells the younger kids, listen to what your older brother or your older sister says. And they don't mean to do this, but it hinders the bond between the brother and the sister. Because now, for me, growing up, being the older sister and becoming like a second mother to my brother, it did not help our bond, because now I'm looking at him as a responsibility instead of my peer. I'm looking at my brother as a responsibility, as an obligation. And I'm a kid. So you're not really allowing me to be a kid because you're giving me this responsibility of another human being.
Right.
And I don't think parents realize that. And then on your flip side, the reason why I wanted us to talk about it, because I want you to give your perspective. For me, I feel like once we started getting into our teens and we started exploring, there was a lot of things that I felt my brother couldn't share with me because he was looking at me like, oh, that's my mom, kind of. I can't really tell her this and that because she might tell on me or she might get on me. Mm-hmm. And so then you're separating the bond and we just don't have a close connection. And now that we're getting older, we're definitely starting to rebuild our relationship. But we missed out on a lot of stuff. We really couldn't be there for each other in a supportive way when it came to sex or relationships or anything, drugs or anything of experimental, because if we confided in each other, it was like, am I confiding in my mom or am I confiding in my sister? Mm-hmm. And then if he confide in me, am I going to look at him as my brother or look at him as my child and scold him? Mm-hmm. So parents, we want to get into this discussion on do your best to not make your oldest child another parent. So right. What did you want to, as a father, tell your story, how many kids you have. What do you think about that?
I have 6 boys. So it's, it's, you have to balance it. What I've learned is, like you said, you can't use the oldest one as, a surrogate parent, but you can use them as an advocate. So that's the difference. You have to use the oldest one as an advocate. So what I did was, whoever was the oldest at the house, they had more responsibility as far as, you're going to be my advocate. Okay, so what I told the oldest one at one time, when my oldest son Monty came and stayed with us, he became the oldest. So I had to have a talk with him and say, hey, basically, whatever I let you get away with, they're going to see it and it's going to follow suit. So I'm using you as an advocate, meaning that they're not going to want to talk to dad about certain things. But if you are strong in their life, if you are a presence in their life, like, you don't have to be like we were latchkey kids, and you were thrust upon the responsibilities, something that you didn't choose. So I'm giving them the choice to say, hey, you still have to be a participant in their life and be an advocate. So, my sons might not want to tell me something, but they'll tell their older brother. And then the oldest want to come to me if he knows it's a problem that's going to get him in trouble, or whether it's in school, the authorities, law, whatever. Then he'll say something to me. But what you do is, you don't go back to the child and throw the other one under the bus. Be like, yo, you told your brother this, and he told me this, and he told me that. No, you have to make it seem like you found this out somehow, right? You found this out, That way you're not throwing them under the bus, and then that way you're not taking that avenue away of getting information. So you have to do that. So that's, parents out there that might be listening. Again, if you have the oldest, no, don't thrust them in that position to be a parent, a surrogate parent, but use him as an advocate. Have a conversation with him, let him know that you're using them as an advocate. And how I told my oldest, I said, listen, they're going to tell you things that they're not going to tell me. And he was like, true, right? He understood, so I'm using you to say, again, I can't allow you to do certain things because they're watching you. Whatever I let you get away with, they're going to say, the first time I scold them or something that I'll let you get away with, then they're going to look at you. You never have a favorite. I know some parents have favorites. I never had a favorite. My favorite was the oldest in the house because he was my advocate, whoever it was. When Monty left, and it became on the next one, which was Eris. So on and so on. When he leaves, then it's Malik. When he leaves, then it's Jaquel. And it's Jaquel. Benjamin, he's the last one, so he kind of like, he ain't got no well, he's the bottom of the line, so there's nothing else he can do once the oldest one from him leaves, that's it. So that's it. But that's the best thing that's advice I can give right there.
Okay, so with advocate, and I understand where you're coming from, I guess you really have to have a real good conversation with your oldest to make sure they really understand what that means, to make sure that because it's like, if you have that conversation with them, it is kind of like a silo, it's kind of by itself. And the oldest child still may take that as not extra special, but I do have this extra responsibility, even as an advocate, but I understand where you're coming from. I'm just trying to figure out a solution on, I guess it's levels to it,
Right.
it's to it. It's with, and I find that this is more harder on the oldest female child, because the oldest female child is told, sometimes, especially in a single parent home, cook, clean, help your, siblings get dressed for school, help them with their homework, help them with this. So because you're doing all of that as a kid yourself, for me personally, is one of the reasons why I wasn't quick to have kids. Like I just wasn't interested in being a mom, because I felt like I've been a mom damn near my whole life, because
Right.
as a kid, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm basically a mother to my brother.
Right.
And that's what I really want to say to the audience, and to, if you are a single mom and you're about to have a kid, please listen to this advice. If you're going to have more than one, remember you decided to bring this kid into the world. So it's not fair to put your responsibility onto your children. That's
Right.
not fair to me. It's not fair. And I know it's tough to say, because if you don't have a support team, or if you don't, or if your significant other left, and this is men and women, women leave men just like men leave women, and it's a single house, you know, a single parent household, and then they just feel like, well, the older one is there. Some go as far as making the older child go out and get a job and help pay with the bills.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I remember growing up, and I remember me and you used to have our conversations when our mother left the room. We would say stuff like, "We ain't slaves. We ain't to hire help." You know what I'm saying? You know, doing these dishes and doing all this other stuff. You know, so yeah, it comes to a point where you made a choice to have children. Not, you didn't have butlers and maids and things like that. So yeah, it's okay to give them chores, but again, the chores gotta fit the age of the child. So you're not going to have your, you know, fourth grader doing laundry, you know, you know what I'm saying, or you know, doing, you know, you want to be, you know, minded of who you're dealing with at all times. As far as the children, you know, they're learning too. Like for me, you know, I didn't know that you were playing the mom role. To me, you was just my big sister that was always looking out for me. That's the only way I saw it. I never saw it, you know, I never, you know, even until you left the house, that's when I was like, because I wasn't getting that extra help or that extra oomph. Then I was like, wait a minute, you know, wait, hold on, you know, because mom's still doing her thing, because now she don't have that extra help that she had in you. So then it became like more strenuous in the house when it was just me and her left in the house. So I did see the difference, you know, I did. But again, when it's happening, you don't see it. You just see, like, you know, for me, I just look at it like, this is my real smart, educated, put together sister who got her stuff together. That's how I saw it. I didn't see it no other way. I was just like, boom, this, that, boom, boom. I needed something. I came to you, boom, running, crying, screaming, kicking, all that. All that, you know, for me, that's just how it was. But until you left, it was kind of like, then I was like, oh, okay. And I think it is a cultural thing for us, because we're thrust in that situation because of, you know, the fathers back in the day, they wasn't around. And there was a lot of single mothers, and single mothers was working. And like you said, some had their children, their oldest, taking a job to help out. So it's a difference. So I do believe that it is a culture thing. Not just blacks, but I think like Hispanic people is the same as us. It's kind of like in crime, in law, when people say the punishment has to fit the crime. So again, the responsibilities have to fit the child. If the child is not ready, if the child is not ready for certain responsibilities, you can't give it to them just because you need it right now. You know, you have to come up with another solution, because if they're not ready for it, then you're gonna have problems. You're lucky for our mom, you were ready for it. You always been ready for it.
Yeah.
That's just Charlotte.
I love that though. It's so silly.
But it's a good thing that you're making this video, because again, you took the high road, but some people might not take the high road. Someone might, another girl at your age, when that was thrust upon you, might look at that as, my childhood has been taken away, and be a, you know, and hold that against the brother, the sibling, and become what's the word?
Resentful.
Abusive to. You know, because they're already older one, and when, you know, slap them, punch them, kick them, because they wanted to go out, but now they have to stay home and watch you. They wanted to do this, but now they got to do that, so they take it on you. So the parents don't understand what might transpire between the two siblings. Because the one sibling might be all nice in your face. I got it, mom. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Go out. But when they leave, it's something different because they're angry. They're upset. And abuse can happen from a sibling who's had responsibilities thrown on them that didn't fit them. They wasn't ready for it. That's what I mean about, make sure the responsibility fits the child. So you have to make sure because, that could have got ugly between us. You could have really, like, and then what I was going to do, and if I go tell, if the younger child will tell the parent, if the parent don't have any resources, nothing's going to happen, and if they go and check the older child, then once they leave, that might make the older person even more mad or more abusive because you just got me in trouble.
That is such a good point. I never thought about that because that's not my mindset, but right. You can make the older sibling an abusive person because they are resentful to having this responsibility.
Exactly.
Right. Let's make sure we are clear. We're not judging or pushing the blame or anything. Things happen. What we're just trying to do is give awareness because I don't think single parents are aware of the bond that the brother and sister has and how precious that is, but how you can disrupt that bond if you make one of them a parent, a pseudo parent. So that's what we're saying. It's like, try to be mindful of how you can get that extra help from your kids, but don't make it, like how you were saying, make sure it's, they're not being punished for a crime that they didn't commit. They didn't bring themselves here. They didn't go out to the club and have a one night stand, or they didn't get married and decide to have kids. A kid never asked to come here. So you always have to remember that the kid never asked to come here. So if you bring a kid into this world, you got to understand that is your responsibility. The child does not owe you anything. Respect and love, yes. But some people confuse their kids, like you were saying earlier, like a slave, like go out and party, mess up the house, and then come home and tell the kid clean up. Yes, a kid can clean up after their own mess, but it becomes a slippery slope when the adults are the ones who are making the mess and then expect the kids to clean up after them. That's what we're saying. So let's be clear. We know there's struggles. We know things happen. A lot of times in our culture, it's a survival thing more than anything. But just try to be more mindful that you want your kids to really have their own connection, their own bond. So I remember when we had our conversation and you were in your late 40s and you said, when I left, you felt abandoned. And I never felt that I abandoned them. I just felt like I was escaping responsibility. I was like, I need freedom. I need to be able to just do me. And it wasn't personal. So we had that conversation and we had that, but it wasn't until you was in your late 40s, that we had this conversation. And so let me ask you this. When it came to your sexual relationships, and I would try to give you advice, I would say, don't mess with that girl. She trying to get pregnant. Back then when I was trying to give you advice, did you hear it coming from your sister or did you hear it coming from someone you felt was like your mom?
It's absolutely 100%. I saw it coming out, the words coming out of your mouth as my sister. But the image was parenting, someone who were, an authority over me because you have played that role. You have played that role for so long, that once you left, we had that conversation when I was in the 40s because it didn't take me until, like I said, once you left for me to understand, okay, So now I can't come run to my sister and tell her this and this and that, and my mother's not here. So now it was a gift and a curse because I had to grow up. But at the same time, it was cold turkey. It's kind of like it was taken from me like that. It wasn't no ease into it. It was just how it was. So yeah, so whenever you tell you, oh, this girl and this now, I'm just like, mama, you know.
Exactly.
Now we had that relationship where how we are now that we can talk about things. I would definitely take it as this is my sister looking out for me.
Yeah.
Like you were just another version of an aunt, an uncle, a grandmother, a grandfather. You know, you were just another authority figure, just agreeing with the older folks.
Exactly.
You know? So I looked at it like, she
Exactly.
forgot what it was to be, Yeah,
exactly. Again, as a parent, whether you're together, whether you're separated, whether you're single, just really try to keep this conversation that we're telling you in mind. Do not make your oldest a parent to their siblings because you are disrupting their bond and it's not fair. Because as a woman growing up, I needed my brother. You know, I wish I had the relationship that we have now back then so that when I had relationship issues, I could go to my brother without my brother seeing me as this authority instead of, oh, this is my sister, let me look out for her. You know, let me go nigga up if I have to. You know what I'm saying? You know, I couldn't have that because it was so, well, he still looks at me as this. So the responsibility, the image that I had to keep up was difficult. It was tough at times. I couldn't be vulnerable. I couldn't be weak because I have to be this for my brother because I'm the oldest. And even to this day, I love when we go out and the bill comes, we're fighting over the bill. We're like, I got it. Because I'm like, well, no, I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to pay. And you're like, I'm supposed to pay.
Remember the last thing you said? You said, oh, so I'm trying to help. What, you want a bad sister? You want someone who always takes me all the time, don't want to do this? And I said, what, you want a brother like that?
Exactly. We say that to our moms. We'd be like, Mom, do you want bad kids? Like,
you want bad kids? All right, we'll do that,
Really wanted to talk about that, and I hope this helps somebody, out there. And but I wanted to also just say thank you for just understanding that it was tough for me, and then allowing us to heal together, in our adult age and rebuild our sibling relationship, our bond. So I always thank you for that. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Do not forget, subscribe to the channel, follow, like, and share my videos.